here in Virginia, now that we are starting to warm up, means you're probably starting to resume your yard work. Maybe you're thinking about getting out there and you need to make sure your lawnmower's ready to go. Maybe your lawn's not looking so good. Fixing winter-damaged lawns may require a lot of patience. And joining us this morning to talk about it, Michael Goatley, a turf grass extension specialist with Virginia Tech. Good to have you with us, Michael. Wow, what a winter. And how about, we were just talking about the drought numbers, so much of the country really having problems. What would you say to folks that are trying to kind of get their yard in shape?
I guess the first thing I'd say is good luck. But no, you're right. We follow up a crazy winter now with everything you just pointed out with the record heat in March, and now we're in this very dry period. So I tell people, use patience in terms of managing your lawns, ease them into this growing season, and we are certainly well ahead of where we should be. And pay attention to that water. It's not a bad thing that your lawns are on the dry side. Matter of fact, I'd like to see lawns more on the dry side to encourage those root systems to penetrate deeper into the soil profile. But if you did any spring seeding, those are things that you're going to have to pay attention to, and are probably going to require a little bit of supplemental water.
Man, it's such great information there. You know, as a homeowner, you try to stay up on the yard. There's really different things you need to do year round. I mean, a lot of the work you put in the fall pays dividends in the spring. If somebody is a new homeowner and maybe they've just come into a property, what are some of the important things folks can start to do now and as we go forward here in the coming weeks?
One of the first things to me is to get a soil test done. If you haven't had a soil test done in the last 3 to 4 years, and you say, I don't know what that is. Well, this is a case I'm going to ask you to trust me. That might be the most important piece of information that you can have, because it's going to allow you to make informed decisions about, does this property need fertilizer? Does this property need lime? Because otherwise, we're taking a risk with the environment, and we're also basically wasting money. And the second big thing would be, if you've already got a lawn, when's the last time that you sharpened your blade? I'm always amazed at most homeowners that tell me, geez, I didn't think about that. And I'm like, there's nothing that would immediately contribute to better lawn quality than to keep those blades sharpened. And most people simply just don't do that more than once a year. We tell people twice a year would be ideal. So those would be the two most important things that immediately pop to my mind.
Michael, you know, when I was a kid, and now I'm giving away my age a little bit here, we actually did have lawnmowers that would catch and bag, but that was the expectation. You always caught your clippings and, you know, bagged them up. And of course, more recently, a lot of folks have been going to mulching more. What advice would you have to, again, somebody that's just buying a house now? Do you recommend more mulching, or are there times that you want to mulch over bagging, or what advice would you have in general?
In general, I was raised the same way you were, a lot of bagging and piling. And hopefully these days, if you do that you're composting. But I'm a big proponent of don't bag it. Return those clippings to the lawn, because essentially the research has shown we can meet roughly a third of our seasonal fertility requirement by simply returning the clippings. So if you follow what we call the 1/3 rule of mowing, which means you never remove more than a third of the leaf blade, you'll always have this lawn that is going to have those leaf clippings being very rapidly degraded by those microbes that are there. And again, this is putting that organic material back to work for you, building up organic material in the soil, and also feeding the turf grass with what is basically controlled release fertilizer.
Yeah, that's great. So we came through the winter, and I love the fact that I have this access to ask you these questions. I'm excited, Michael. We come through the winter, really cold here in Hampton Roads for a couple of months early, but then we've had the recent warm-ups. Are there any common issues that you've seen as a result of the more recent conditions here in Virginia that are popping up, or is it just, you know, hey, we kind of deal with these things all the time? Have you seen anything unusual at all?
Yeah, Virginia being a transition zone state, we're always unusual, and you're all in one of the toughest spots in terms of growing grass. Here in the mountains, it's pretty standard that I'm a cool season grass recommendation guy. And over there in Hampton Roads, you got the possibility to grow 8 different grasses not very well. That's the challenge. So I tell people, if you haven't got green grass now, by this time with the warmth we've had, then you've probably got some issues. And I'd try to find out what those issues are. If you're not sure where to turn, remember that your local cooperative extension office has personnel and expertise there that can help you and help you make the decisions about, do I need to do this, or am I going to be okay if I'm patient?
Yeah, that is really interesting. And you say 8 different types of grasses. What do you think's like some of the most hardy stuff? Again, one of our producers was saying, we just bought this house. They're trying to bring back their lawn. She was asking, is there a particular type of grass that you would think might be a little bit hardier given kind of what we deal with here that you would recommend?
Well, in the types of warmth that we're having, the warm season grasses, things like Bermuda grass, zoysia grass, centipede, and St. Augustine all fit that climate very well. Of course, those grasses have basically a 4 to 5 month dormancy period. And in most people's minds, that's just, oh, we can't accept that for a lawn. And I'm like, well, that's just the way it is with those grasses to survive the winter extremes. But warm season grasses are much more drought hardy than our cool season grasses. In the cool season grass world, the best adapted grass in your all's area there of Hampton Roads is going to be turf type tall fescue. That'll have the deepest root system. When I pay visits to my colleagues and customers over there at that part of the state, I see a lot of turf type tall fescue lawns. And as long as you remember that that's a cool season grass that really likes more the fall and spring type conditions, you got to give it a little extra attention during the summer. It still remains a very solid choice.
All right. Currently, I just mentioned going back, I wanted to revisit the map here. We are in moderate drought. This is the brand new U.S. drought monitor, and even parts of the peninsula starting to show abnormal dry conditions. If we continue, like the next week or so, we're looking at dry conditions, and folks are wanting to see, do you recommend they hold off a little bit till we see a shift in the pattern, or you just get it in there and try to throw some water on it and stay on top of it as best you can?
I would try to hold off as long as possible. And again, the only issue that I might have would be, I mentioned earlier about seeding. If you've done spring seeding, especially of cool season grasses, it will germinate very quickly as the temperatures have risen, but then can we keep it alive? And that's always our trouble with spring seeding of cool season grasses, is we know that summer is coming and we've already got summer type conditions out there. So I would try to be patient. When you walk on those lawns, look for the clues of extreme wilt. One of those would be just footprinting. If you step on it and you look behind you and there's no evidence that there's any spring in that grass bouncing back, then that's probably a good indication. It might be time to give this lawn a drink. We tell people, think about maintenance irrigation as being deeply and infrequently. Don't go out there and run the irrigation system for 4 or 5 minutes and kind of train those roots to stay up near the top of the soil. We want to push those roots deeper into that soil profile.
Phenomenal information. I know you've got to go, and I believe you're going to be teaching a class here pretty quickly, so I will let you go. But before I do, Virginia Tech has a lot of awesome resources. Is there any place that you would direct our viewers to check out if they want more information?
Yeah, if you check the Virginia Cooperative Extension webpage, and basically you can just type that into your search engine and put in publications. I think most people, if you've never been there, you're going to be amazed at the diversity of publications from all areas, because our job is to serve the state of Virginia. And so lots of resources on the VCE Publications webpage.
Turfgrass Extension Specialist, Michael, I'm going to call you the Grass Goat, the greatest of all time. Lots of great information, Mr. Goatley. Thank you so much for joining us, and we appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you for having me.